Women despise men who love them. Okay, and what I'm going to be doing is showing you step by step on my whiteboard today why this actually is, and I'm even going to show you why you can never fully emotionally invest in a woman to the point where you're attached. So a couple days ago, I had over a friend of mine. She's a woman who I've known for probably about a year and a half, and she told me that she was not feeling herself because she wishes she had a boyfriend. Okay, and I thought that this was funny because this is a woman who gets a lot of attention, right? This is a woman who I've known for a year who has a lot of men who have tried to reach out to her, who tried to take her out on dates. And I said to her, I go, well, it looks like you have a lot of options. I go, why don't you date one of them? And she said to me, she goes, every single guy that I've ever met that I've liked has wanted me back. And this is a very funny thing because I looked at her and I said, so what you're telling me, I go, don't lie to me on this. I go, every single man, as soon as he loves you and you can tell that he loves you, you don't want him anymore and you lose respect and you look at him as weak, don't you? And she would not answer this question for like 10 seconds. She sat there looking at me dumbfounded because it was almost like I cracked her code. And she goes, yes, that's true. And I go, okay. I go, so, and this is something I've known for a long time. Like, you can treat a woman well, but the second you're completely attached, it's game over. And here's what's funny about it is I said to her, I go, so why don't women tell men this? And she goes, because we know that we'd be powerless. What I'm going to be doing today is I'm going to give you cheat codes to the game that 99% of guys know. And if you follow this code that I'm about to show you on this presentation, you are going to win. Today's MBT Celeb Spotlight is Brayson. He goes, bro, it worked. I got this chick's number, didn't have to say nearly anything, and she gave me the digits. It was effortless, and I was so calm and in the zone. I'm so pumped I had to show you this right now. Guys, these are the results I see every day with masculine behavioral techniques. So what I want you to do after this video is over, go down below, check out the full-length free presentation that I put together for you. It's going to totally transform your life, and you're going to see how you can use MBT, masculine behavioral techniques, as well. Let's dive into today's presentation. Now, stay with me today for today's presentation because this is new material never before seen, and I'm going to show you a new concept that I want you to really ingrain into your head and actually internalize. So the meat and beans of the topic is women despise men who love them, and I'm going to explain why. There's three specific things you have to understand. The very first is that loving a woman equals emasculation. I'm going to explain why. As soon as you fall in love with a woman completely, where you're like, baby, I love you, and you're so attached, here's what happens is she senses emotional weakness. Emotional weakness is like the kiss of death. If you are speaking to a woman, and this will kill all sexual attraction to the point where you guys are going to have no intimacy. She's either going to look at you as clingy or you're going to get friend zoned. The biggest reason is because when this happens, a woman cannot look up to you. Okay, as a woman enters your frame, or as a woman senses like this is the type of man who I would want to lead me, she has to be able to look up to you. As soon as you're in love, the emasculation happens and the tests start to happen because it shows that you have lost your ability of rational thought. When you're in love, majority of men's rational thought goes out the window and they don't think clearly. So what happens when you're emotionally invested is you start to become emasculated because as your rational thought goes out the window, she knows that you can now be controlled. A man on all levels who can be controlled, and especially through his emotions, is a man who is weak fundamentally, and this is a man that she doesn't want. So I'm going to give you an example. You can have the biggest biceps in the world, you can be 6'5" and jacked, you can make $50 million per year, and you can have every single exterior status symbol possible, okay? Now I'm gonna add another layer to this. A lot of men even talk about the term pre-selection, especially on YouTube. You can even have 5, 10, 15, 20, 30 girls after you, okay? But if there is a woman who you're pining over, that you are head over heels in love with, that sense of attachment is the exact thing that makes her dry between the legs and turns her off. So this is what you have to understand. If you love a woman, you're going to slowly become emasculated. Am I saying you can't care for a woman? No. Am I saying you can't text a woman to see how she's doing or how her day is going? No. Am I saying you can't have great intimate experiences with them? No. But absolutely 100%, you can never put your emotions before your rational thought. And the second you do this, and the second you're attached and you're invested, you're screwed. So what's the wrap-up point with point number one? The wrap-up point is this: women hate men who can be controlled. If you can be controlled, and especially through love and especially through your emotions, you're going to be in for pain. So the second reason why women despise men who actually love them is because she'll no longer respect you. In order for a woman to adore you, to love you, okay? She has to respect you. Women disrespect men who fall in love with them. So what you have to understand is this: women only respect men who can exit. If you can say no to a woman and reject her or push her away, and this is for any reason, this could be for poor behavior, this could be for something you didn't like, this could be for, anything possible. Women only will respect a man who can exit, who can pick up his balls and leave. So what you'll see oftentimes with men is majority of men, when they fall in love and they're head over heels in love, not only, okay, have they put their emotions before their rational thought, but what has also happened is they can no longer exit because they're being able to be controlled emotionally. This is going to be very bad. And the reason why I'm making this is because when I was with the girl who I told you I've known for a year, and I said this to her, it was almost like she had a look of guilt because it was like she was caught red-handed. Now, I'm telling you this because when she said this verbatim, that the reason why women don't tell you this is because they know that they would be powerless. A man who can exit shows strength. Okay, if I put a Victoria's Secret swimsuit model in front of you, and let's say you were madly in love with her, okay, but let's say that she does something and your rational thought and your intellect is stronger than your emotions, and she threatens to leave or something like that, you can say, door's right there. That is you having balls and the ability to show that you can exit. Women very rarely leave a man who's able to exit and be fine. What they will do, though, is men who are attached to the point where they can't exit, they can't say no, they need this woman's approval, they need this woman's validation. What will happen is that woman will emasculate him until he's almost like a shell of his former self. So the biggest way that you can get over this, obviously there's a couple different ways. The first is obviously you have to put lust on the back burner. Majority of men go into dates, okay, with the intent to game the woman and to sleep with her. And since they're not actually qualifying the woman on who she is and her values and her interests, on what she brings to the table beyond the bedroom, what happens is they're already losing control of their rational thought and they're slowly starting to be seduced by emotion from the get-go. Okay, that's first. The second is a man has to have boundaries and principle. If you don't have principle with how you live, like if this, then that. If a woman, I don't care how long I've known her, I don't care if she's the mother to my kids, if this happens, okay, if this happens and this behavior occurs, then my reaction is this. If you don't have principle and structure, if you have flexible boundaries and flexible principle, you're not going to be looked at as a strong, rational male. And this is not what you want to have happen. So, to take this a step further, the wrap-up point for point number 2 is this. Women only want what they can't have. The second that a woman can have you 24/7, regardless of her behavior, is the second that she no longer wants to invest in you. And I want to tell you a secret too. A woman wants to invest in a man's future. Okay, where he's going in life. There's no better predictor for a woman to test a man's future, okay, than if he can actually lead with rational thought and exit a relationship or an interaction if bad behavior occurs. The reason being is because if she sees it, he can consistently put rational thought without leading with his own emotion, despite how he may feel in that exact moment. That's a future you want to bet on. Okay, and women see this. This is typically a future where a guy can make the right decisions in life. This guy can make the right decisions financially. These things stack up and these things do start to matter. So, ingrain this as point number 2. Women only want what they can't have. The third element is a brand new element, and the third topic that I want to address today, this is something that's never before been discussed. There's an element of being unchained. Okay, so this word unchained, this is a new topic, or this is like a new term I've never discussed on this channel, but I think that this word sums it up perfectly. An unchained man, if you're unchained, okay, essentially what that means is you have no fear of loss and no attachment to a desired outcome. You're able to exit or you're able to walk away. You don't have attachment to anything. Okay, and this goes for how you live your life. You don't have attachment, you live in abundance. You don't have attachment to a specific woman. You don't have attachment to, let's say, a certain deal that has to go through in business. You don't have a certain attachment to a job. Like, you have attachment to who you are, your God-given purpose, and your own skill sets. And you have attachment to that because you know that that can serve you in any situation. This is what makes a man attractive. Okay, if you're unchained, that means you have no fear of loss and no attachment to a desired outcome. Most men are chained. They're chained in scarcity. They're chained in scarcity with women. They're chained in scarcity financially. They're chained in scarcity with who they are. This is not good. So the third element, okay, the reason why women despise men who love them is because most men are chained. They're chained to them. Okay, if most men trip and fall and stumble into getting a girlfriend, this is their only element, or this is their only way of having sexual access, this is their only way of actually having companionship, he doesn't know how to generate options for himself, this is not good. An unchained man lives the opposite. So, when you're unchained, here's what happens. You now can throttle your attention. Women crave attention. And I don't care, it doesn't matter who she is, all women want attention, because that attention, that is social currency, and that gives her approval. So what happens, okay, if you can throttle your attention and you're an unchained man, you can now live with the example of, if this occurs, then this happens, okay? If desirable behavior occurs, she gets attention. Very simple. You live in an element of zeros and ones, okay, positive and negative. There's no other element to it. You don't have to invest emotionally into it and try to guess and make all these gray areas. It's very simple. Desirable behavior equals she gets attention. Undesirable behavior equals no attention. That's it. Now, this for most men is easier said than done. This is going to sound good on paper. However, for most men, they're not going to be able to do this because they can't put their rational thought above their emotion. So, when you're unchained, here's what you got to understand. Men in love can't walk away, and they also give attention to undesirable behavior. If you have ever emotionally invested into like a woman or into an outcome in your business, your occupation, whatever, you're going to notice that despite undesirable behavior occurring, you will still give attention or thought to that specific outcome. An unchained man does not live that way. So these are the three elements of how not only do you have to live in order to have a good, fulfilling life, but this also is going to explain to you why women really despise men who are head over heels in love for them. Like, if you can internalize this, you can really start to live life on your own terms. You can become that like almost alpha male that you've probably always wanted to be, and you can actually sleep soundly at night knowing that you're on your purpose in the right direction without being attached to all this emotionalism that most men invest into. So hit the like button, comment, and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next one.